is Manolis Spinorilakis, the founder and creator of Reality Crowd TV, and I'm here with a great panel and a great event tonight here in Washington, D.C. at 1776, a great co-working space with over 200 entrepreneurs in the building who are part of this ecosystem. I'm here with Jessica Sun, the founder and creator of Reality Crowd TV, and that's Jessica right there. And I just want to give you all just a brief, clap for Jessica.
Yes.
That's right. And tonight we have a great schedule of events. We have two segments, the first of which is a mock show and panel discussion, and that's all the great people we have on the stage right now. And the second segment is a Title III equity crowdfunding overview, because a lot of people in America do not know that equity crowdfunding will soon be a reality after the SEC gets their regulations in order. So I will introduce the panelists, but for those watching on Google Plus and YouTube Live, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you being here as well. And we hope that you enjoy this. At the end, we will have a 15-minute call to action, and we hope that you stay with us all the way through till 9 o'clock so that you can experience that as well. So once again, everyone, thank you for joining us, and let me introduce everyone to our panel. We have Funlawa Lavi, who is the founder of Shea Radiance. We have Wayne Mai, who is the CEO of Sarah's Coffee House. We have Jeff Cherry, who is the executive director of the Conscious Venture Lab. We have Corey and Matt Wallace, who are the founders of Chops LLC, which is a ketchup brand that was successfully crowdfunded on Kickstarter. And we also have Tara DeNicholas, excuse me if I pronounced that incorrectly, who is with a PR firm and social media firm. And can you please tell me what that firm is again?
It's just called Dorshan Consulting Group.
Dorshan Consulting Group, thank you so much. So the way this is going to work, everyone, is we're first going to talk with our featured entrepreneurs. But before we do that, I just want to give you a brief overview of what Reality Crowd TV is all about. We are a reality television show that is seeking to educate people visually on how to crowdfund in a reality TV show format. We are focusing in on education. We believe that a lot of reality TV shows out there do not educate people on how to live their dreams. And because crowdfunding is such a new idea that although it's been around since 2009, there's a lot of new things that are moving forward, and most people do not understand the nuances of crowdfunding. And so think of us as the Shark Tank without the bite. Instead of a panel of sharks coming in and criticizing someone's ideas, we are going to have a panel of mentors who help people succeed in crowdfunding. And ultimately, the American public will be the sharks. And what would a reality TV show be if we didn't crowdfund ourselves? So the first stage is a one-day crowdfund tonight, but ultimately we are going to launch on Kickstarter.com, and we're going to raise the money we need to actually bring this show to a reality to help people all over the world live their dreams. So with that said, let us begin the program, and Jessica Sun will actually lead us in the first question.
Okay, so we're going to start with Funyao. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. So just tell us a little bit about your company and exactly what you're trying to do with it.
Thank you. The name of my company is Shea Radiance, and at Shea Radiance we truly believe that a really great jar of cream can change the world. We started formulating products to take care of our family skincare problems. My sons were born with almost like lizard skin. They were eczema prone, really dry. And in the process of trying to solve our family's problem, we discovered that just the efficacy and power of shea butter as a healing ingredient. Our quest led us to West Africa, where shea butter comes from. And what we found was that there were women who were responsible for gathering the shea nuts and processing it into butter. And what we did was we started partnering with these women, buying their raw ingredients and shipping it here to the United States to make a premium line of hair and body care products. And we just found that by empowering women, we can actually change the world one woman at a time. Thank you.
Great.
Same question for you, Wayne. Please tell us about your personal experiences prior to your current role.
Prior to my current role?
Yes.
Okay. So my name's Wayne. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. I'm a little bit nervous, if you could excuse me. So I just graduated from college 2 years ago. I was born and raised in Vietnam, and Vietnam right now is one of the biggest producers of coffee in the world. And growing up, I didn't know a lot about the coffee industry, but my mom was a part of it. And coming to the US and graduated from Penn State, I wanted to do something to give back to my country, to empower the business and most importantly, the women aspect of the country, because right now in Vietnam, women are still kind of second citizens, and I'm here to sort of start this coffee company to give back to them, and to also not only the women but the farmers who are currently living there, and the educations and the water and just everything that's happening that it needs the most help. And right now we're focusing in coffee in Haiti because Haiti is the closest country to the US that needs the most help. I was there 2 weeks ago, and it was heartbreaking because knowing that they're so close to the US, I was so ignorant about how much help they needed. There are 10 million Haitians in the country and 8.5 are unemployed. And I experienced kids from the age of 5 to 10 carrying waters every morning, walking miles and miles to bring back to their family, and they don't have the education and they don't have time to go to school because they need to take care of their essentials needs first. So that's a little bit about my background before I started the company.
Excellent. And in fact, you actually told us a lot about what your mission is, and I love that. Which leads us to our next question, actually, and I'm going to give Fun Lao a chance too. What is the mission of Shea Radiance? And also, after you tell us what your mission is, how far along are you in your company? Tell us where your company is, what your company does, and how you live out your mission.
The mission of Shea Radiance really is to have an impact on women's lives. We found just by traveling to the shea producing regions in West Africa, I'm talking about countries like Mali, Nigeria, Senegal, that the women's lives there is very impoverished. These women live in the midst of abundance. I think most people will attest that Africa is rich in a lot of natural resources, but when you go there, especially when you go out into the interior, you find that people are living under baobab trees. Baobab oil can command a premium in the European markets, and the women still can't feed their kids. They can't buy medicine. And after experiencing all these things as a woman and as a mother, I knew that if I did my job well as a manufacturer of natural skincare products, if I met the needs of my customers by providing great products that deliver results, that I in turn would provide a market for these women. We do business with them. We're not a charity, we're not an NGO. These women want economic empowerment by doing business. And so what we do is give them an opportunity to sell their product, shea butter, to us at a fair price. We bring it here to the United States. We use a large amount of shea butter in all our products because we feel like it gives the customers the best result. It also has the added benefit of us having to order more shea butter because we're using more than what your general store brands use. And that means more income for the women.
And just to follow up, so your company provides opportunities economically for people who produce shea butter, or rather who cultivate the shea plant that creates the butter, and then with that product that is created back in Africa, you then create a skincare product. Is that correct?
Correct. So raw shea butter comes from a fruit, and inside that fruit is a nut and a kernel. And what these women do right about this time of the year in April, they go out in the fields at the crack of dawn and they gather all the fruits. They take it into their little villages and then they process it into butter. So something like a raw shea butter would be something like this. They cook with it, they eat it. And it's a food-grade vegetable oil. And so what we do is we buy it and we use it as a key ingredient in creating finished products, like a really rich lotion or a hair care cream. So.
Very interesting. So that's great. By commercializing the resource of shea, you are not only creating a viable product that people need to use that will better their skin, but you're also providing economic opportunities to the most impoverished areas in the nation.
Absolutely.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, Ween, please tell us what your mission is and what business you're in and how far along you are.
Okay. Our mission is based on the quote, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Show him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime." So our goal is to create sustainable economic development in the countries that we import coffee from. Our coffee business, starting off right now, is importing and exporting, and we look to expand into retailing as well as building farms prototypes to help the farmers, bringing interns from universities to help farmers, to help them with the agriculture's aspect of it. Because a lot of them farming from experience as well as a lack of resources, lack of machinery. So we want to bring that to them to help them to create a sustainable farm for themselves, and then in turn directly trade with them. And then a part of our net profit, we will put a gradual percentage of our profit into a nonprofit foundation to give back to those farmers and their communities and their families for water, for education, for shelter, and all of that.
Great. So Sarah's Coffee House, the product is rare and hard to find coffee, which is Haitian coffee, which could be coffee from Vietnam. And as you commercialize that coffee, you're providing opportunities for the producers of the coffee to actually cultivate it in an eco-friendly way and to provide opportunities for those people working on that eco-friendly farm. Is that similar to what I gather?
Yes, about 50 years ago, Haiti was one of the biggest coffee production countries in the world. And since the earthquake happened, all of their lands are destroyed, all of their soil are destroyed. So now they came down to absolutely nothing. All of the forests are deforested. So Haitian coffee is not known in the US because there's lack of supply. All of their coffees that are producing in Haiti right now goes to Europe because there's such a small number that the big conglomerate company in the US, they don't have enough to supplies them. So there is I wouldn't say no, but there's a very few small roasters in the US that know about Haitian coffee. So our goal is to be the marketing arm for Haitian coffee and introduce it within the US markets. And Haitian coffee is amazing. I was there 2 weeks ago and I get to try it fresh from the farm. It's top grade Arabica beans. So it's something that we would like to share that with our people here.
Well, I call it coffee liquid motivation myself. So. Very good. So Jess, I'll pass it over to you for the third question.
So why crowdfunding? Is there a reason why you chose to crowdfund these projects? I guess we can start.
Sure. Crowdfunding is still a relatively new arena for us, but because of the type of business that we're in, we're not just in the natural lotion making business, we're in the business of telling stories about the source of our raw ingredient, telling the stories of the lives of the women in a way that our customers, who are predominantly women, can relate to, and give them an opportunity to be part of our journey in uplifting women economically. So crowdfunding provides a platform where we can share video, where people can share a story with their friends and their network of friends. I travel to Africa several times a year to visit with the communities and also to work on some USAID projects. And I have video of the women just testifying about how having their own business has changed their lives. It's given them a voice in their communities. Women who are being abused, when they are actually making their own money, really don't have to stay and get smacked around. You know, they have options. The fact that more of their kids can go to school, the fact that they have discretionary income, they're not dependent on their husband to give them money, and most of the time their husbands have multiple wives. So it gives me an opportunity to share this story. I don't want Africa to seem so far. I want to bring it closer, and I want people to know more about the lives of women there.
so they can really follow you on your journey and really feel from day one exactly what you needed to do in order to get this out there, and people who are following you are really interested in what you're doing, and that's really going to grow a connection with them.
Absolutely.
Great. How about you?
Yes, of course, raising money is very important for a company, and it's important to start. However, crowdfunding, in my mind, is about raising awareness, is about educating, is about informing. There is a lot of money in the world. There is a lot of investor. There's a lot of very wealthy investor. Crowdfunding, we want to reach out to people who are just like us, just like me, starting from a child to a high school student to a college student to major wealthy and successful people. I want to reach out to everyone where a dollar counts, not so much of the money, but so that we can raise awareness, and I think that's very important.
Great, so it's more like gathering a following who really believes in your idea, and through that process you're raising money. It's not just about the money, it's about showing them exactly why you feel that way.
Exactly.
So last question for both of you for now is, how did you hear about crowdfunding? Because a lot of people actually don't know about it. So what brought you to know about crowdfunding?
Well, people have been telling me about crowdfunding, and they were like, all you have to do is go on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, throw up a video, and everyone will rush and give you all this money. And I was like, that is so cool. And I need to do that, right? And last year I had a project. We wanted to go to northern Nigeria to train about 200 women in cosmetic making and soap making, and we thought, well, this would be a great time to get our friends and family to pay off, offset some of the expense of going in and doing that training. And I'm telling you, I never worked so hard in my life. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of kind of having your ducks in line before the clock starts ticking. And we had a goal of $18,000, and I think we only raised about $5,000. So having fallen on my face in the crowdfunding scene, I know it's a great opportunity, but it does take a lot of time and investment, and you have to have a really good plan. So that's my experience.
Exactly, so this time around, you're planning to have that plan.
Absolutely.
How about you, Ewan?
I actually never heard of crowdfunding until I started this business. And when you're stuck in a hole, you start to get creative and you start Googling. And thankfully, I met with Manolis, and he was able to educate me on what crowdfunding really is. And within the last few weeks, I've just been doing research on it. And then it kind of dawned on me. At first, I started it. I looked at it because I needed money. But then after doing all this research on it, it dawned on me that it was given to me, or it was shown to me for multiple purposes besides just the money itself. So.
Okay, so we're now going to turn over to our expert panel.
Sure. Thank you both very much for showing us kind of like a personal side to your business. Our panel of experts will really share with you their experiences and their insights, and they're going to ask you potentially some follow-up questions just to understand better where you are in your process. And then they'll also share with you, a few of them have been through crowdfunding themselves, and others have helped others in crowdfunding too. So there's a good pool of information that we're about to get through. So we'll start first with Jeffrey Cherry, the Executive Director of the Conscious Venture Lab. And Jeffrey, I know that you recently went through your own crowdfunding campaign, and can you share with us your experience and kind of share with us the fact that that you have a business and then you have to crowdfund? Kind of share that concept, the business of what you do, and then the fact that you have to crowdfund on top of the business of what you do.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks, Noah, for having me and all of us. And this is, I think it's a great forum. It's a great idea to educate people about this because there's so much going on and so many questions. So I think this could really be a great asset. So kudos to you guys. I guess falling flat on your face makes you an expert. So from my, maybe you're an expert too, because we did a crowdfunding campaign. We tried to raise $50,000. We raised 15, and I never worked so hard. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, actually, I didn't work that hard. Cosmina worked hard, who works with me. But yeah, I think that, you know, one of the things about the business of the business and the crowdfunding is that they're really two distinct animals. And doing a crowdfunding campaign is almost like running another business, right? It's sort of the business within your business. And, you know, thinking about writing your business plan and all of that stuff, yeah, that it contributes to what you're going to do in your crowdfunding campaign, but it really is a different animal. The crowdfunding campaign and the folks at Indiegogo and Kickstarter are really, really good at sort of helping you along, but it's an animal to itself. It's a brand new form of fundraising that you really have to get your head around and understand all the ins and outs of it, like any other type of fundraising, but it's new and it's unique because it's online, because it's with the crowd, because of all of those sort of you know, nuances of it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of knowledge, and it's not nearly as easy as you might think. I think that we're all sort of getting past that notion that it's easy, but it's a lot of work.
Absolutely, and if you could have done one thing differently that you can tell Wien and Fun Lao when they begin to plan their campaign, what could you have done throughout your experience with what you've learned? What would you have done a little bit differently that you thought could have made a difference?
I could have started a different type of business. Well, I mean, I'm half joking, but crowdfunding is really difficult for service business, right? The thing that we had, we're trying to get people engaged in something, to really care about something. And I hear that in both of these businesses, and I think that's a really good component. That crowdfunding, especially donation crowdfunding, only works if people care about what you do. If they don't care about what you do, it's not going to work. I think the other thing is we're a service business, so we had to do something different with the perks that was harder to do. So that's why I said maybe if I had a different type of business. But I think that within the crowdfunding sort of process itself, the most important thing that I think that we learned, and I was told this and I ignored it, so don't ignore it, is that you have to really engage your host committee, the folks that are going to support you before you launch, in your soft launch, before you put it out for everyone to see. And that host committee has to be really committed. We sort of talked to them and said, you know, we sort of need you guys to help us raise 30% of our goal, but we didn't push them, and we should have pushed them. Because if you don't raise 30% of your goal before you launch, you're not going to make it. And that's what happened to us. So that's really important. I think that, I'm sorry, what's your name again? Is that Coffee? Wien, okay. Wien, sorry about that. I think that the notion that this is about raising awareness is really true, though, because even though we didn't reach our monetary goal, the money wasn't really that important for us either. It was about raising awareness. And we had 1,000 people who came on and looked and donated, not a lot of money, but we had 1,000 followers now, and they were really, those 1,000 followers were really engaged in what we did. So I think that's important. But get the host committee, get them committed, raise that money. If you have to push back the launch in order to raise that money, push back the launch to raise that money. Do not go live unless, because people want to be part of a winner, right?
Absolutely, and you said such valuable advice. For those in the audience who don't understand that 30% statistic, if you don't raise 30% of your funding goal within the first week, statistics show that there's a 90% chance that you won't raise the rest. Whereas if you do raise 30% of your funding within the first week, that triggers the algorithms of these different websites and Kickstarter. Suddenly you're on the front page, and now people who don't know you are looking at you because they see you have all these backers. It's kind of like kind of like this, I mean, I don't want to akin it to a stock market, but when a stock is hot, that's when everyone then wants to invest in it, right? Because they see there's backers, they see there's support. So the way you get that 30% of funding within the first week is, like you said, rally your current traditional networks. Your traditional networks, the social capital that you've built up over the years through your relationships, crowdfunding allows you to convert social capital into actual capital. And that's the key. So even though you may have asked your friends to donate the first time around, you should not be afraid to ask them again, because you'll need to. And Ween and James, who's the founder as well, you guys have a lot of social capital just through our discussions that we've had together. So you're going to have to hit them really hard well before you've ever launched. So thank you for that. That was great advice. And we'll go to the next question.
So Corey and Matt, you guys actually successfully crowdfunded your campaign of Chups. Is it
Chups, yes.
Chups. So why don't we go a little bit of detail about what Chups is first before we talk about your actual crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, sure. So we created Chups about 1.5 years ago. We make fruit ketchup, which most people don't really challenge the thought of traditional tomato ketchup that you use, maybe once a week or, more often. Ketchup has been made with a number of different ingredients for several hundred years. It originated in Asia and was brought eventually over to America, where colonists use anything from oysters to walnuts to fruits that they had grown in their houses to make ketchup, to make the food that they were eating every day taste better. For the last 75, 80 years, we've known really nothing but tomato ketchup. So we wanted to sort of resurrect those recipes and sort of get people thinking about what food they're eating on an everyday basis, and bring a little spice to their burgers and fries.
Sounds really good. Can't wait to try some.
It's not jelly. Everyone always asks that. If you think about tomato ketchup, do you think that you're eating tomatoes when you have ketchup? No, right? There's vinegar and spices. So what we're doing is we're just throwing the tomatoes out and putting something else in there and adding that vinegar and that spice. And so it's just giving you some variety.
So what advice do you guys have for crowdfunding, and how were you guys successful? Was it an easy process for you? Was it difficult?
I wouldn't categorize it as either. I would say it was a really fun process. It was a big learning experience, but I would say that the biggest thing is treat it as a launch. Like, treat it as you would if you were launching your business. Build that momentum. That was the biggest thing for us. I would say we had the idea to do a Kickstarter probably almost a year before we probably did it. We had been talking about it for a long time. And then I would say like 3 months before is when we got really serious about it and started writing down our ideas and thinking about our reward levels. And so then I would say it was probably a month before is when we started telling people we're doing a Kickstarter, and here's around the time that we're going to be launching it. So you want to have a launch date. We didn't even meet our launch date. We had to push it back, which is fine, because then people got even more excited for it. So yeah, I really treat it as a launch and use people. Like we Tara, thank God for her, she helped us with our press release. We even did a press release. And that's great because you get media picks it up and you're going to get that many more eyeballs. So treat it as a launch. That's the biggest piece of advice.
Do you find certain things work better for you during the launch?
Yeah, what Jeff said, which is leveraging your own network. I mean, yeah, press release was great for getting new people, but we really crunch the numbers. That's another big thing is crunch your numbers, because you kind of can gauge before you launch how much money you're going to make. So we picked our goal based on, okay, this is our network that we know our friends and family are going to back us. So you want to say, okay, 30% or so, and so yeah, you really crunch the numbers and leverage your network. You can't. I hated doing it every day, but you got to post to Facebook. You got to self promote. You got to just like toot your horn.
I mean, you can't emphasize enough on how social media and your network really, really helps your project ideas, because a lot of people, like 43% of Kickstarter projects fail. And that's a really high number. And a lot of times it's because people put on projects on these platforms and they think that it doesn't matter if I have X amount of following, we're just gonna get funded because our idea to them is really great. It could be a really great idea, but if you don't have enough social media or people that know what you're trying to do, then you probably won't get that funding, which is a high statistic. 43% of people fail.
Another statistic, 30% of our money, like referral to Kickstarter paid us, 30% was from Facebook alone. Just Facebook, not even social networking, just Facebook.
Well, that's a good statistic actually to know for your
It
project.
was actually 31%. But.
So how about some things that you could have done better when you were running your campaign?
I would say we could have done the reward fulfillment. If you think, I mean, it depends on the product. Ours is somewhat labor intensive. We're in a kitchen cooking. You think how long it's going to take you to fulfill those rewards? Double that. So that's what we're right now. We're just kind of digging out of a little bit of a hole of fulfilling our rewards. So we probably could have done that better. I think that was probably the biggest thing.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. We're gonna go to Tara. We're actually a little over time. Oh.
Great. And Tara, we're going to give you a moment. I just actually want to get a gauge of, because you are in public relations, are you also help people with social media too? Is it both?
Somewhat.
Okay, so let's just get a gauge of, from our entrepreneurs, how is, just raw statistics, just like throw out a couple ballpark numbers, Facebook, Twitter, email list, and LinkedIn contacts. Like approximately between the four of those, how many contacts do you guys have currently? So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and email.
For me, I would say...
And please talk in the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm doing the math really quickly in my head. I would say about 16,000.
Wow, 16,000?
Yeah,
Wow.
Facebook,
Okay.
Constant Contact, Twitter, LinkedIn, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
that's about 6 different platforms.
So
Great.
combined.
Okay.
Combined.
And then for you?
Sarah's Coffee House, since we have just started for a few months, our values are, we have all the platforms set up, but we haven't run it at all. So I think the number for Sarah's Coffee is 0 because we kind of want to wait to make sure that everything's going good until we launch. So that's Sarah's Coffee. Personally, I would say I have around 8,000 contacts, and that's mainly just because from Penn State and from previous jobs and just my family and just friends.
Excellent. And I can vouch for Ween because I sat down with you and James, and you guys have an incredible business plan. You're in the stage of now it's execution time. So your business plan is amazing, and you have all the contacts. You could produce the coffee. You're there. Now it's just raise capital to get it done. So that 0 number, and I also want to say as well, and maybe you guys can also vouch, but you have to be ready and willing to be out there, like treat this like a political campaign. You have to be out there, Ween, telling your personal contacts about this too. Your personal contacts and your business contacts are one and the same. There's no blending. So just because Sarah Coffee has 0, it really has 8,000 because you're going to need those 8,000 to help you in the future. So now I just want to send it over to Tara. I just want to just get that ballpark so you knew kind of where they were. And go right ahead. So from your experience with PR and social media, how can you give them some advice on how to engage bloggers, how to engage traditional media, and then if you do have some advice on social media, how they can help themselves build their social media presence?
Sure. So I should start with saying I do PR now, but where I came from is I started my own crowdfunding platform for a charity, and we did it before crowdfunding really existed in the mainstream, so it was 2007. So we had basically our own Kickstarter site, and over the course of 7 years we raised $3 million. So what I can tell you is we never would have done any of that without social media. And that is what attracted it. And if you made a point that I think, especially we were doing donation-based crowdfunding, so there were no incentives other than the psychology of you said people have to care, but you as a PR marketing person, or me as a PR marketing person, you have to make them care. And I think it's getting behind that psychology and creating that hype around it, and Chups did a really great job of that. I mean, you wanted to support them because you saw momentum around them, so you really have to strategize. And I think to those connections, I mean, something Corey did really well, and people want to hire me now, of course, to help them with their crowdfunding campaigns, but they want me to dig into my network and get all of my friends to donate because I've done it for so many years. But the whole point is people are going to do it for you because they want to see you succeed. And what Corey and Matt did so well was, I mean, I remember seeing you emailing some people and they would write these articles and do these things because Corey had relationships to them, or ask their friends, hey, do you know somebody at this blog or this newspaper? And I really think if you sit down and start to think about who you know and who can connect you to who, you have the world at your fingertips. It's very small with social media, so it can push you out there very quickly. And I think how you word it and how you position it and how we did for all those years, I mean, we created something out of nothing. We were fundraising for puppies. I mean, we would have other charities that were cancer and AIDS come to us and say, well, how the heck are you doing that? I mean, people really shouldn't be raising. We were raising $750,000 a year for puppies, and I authentically thought we should. So I think that was the reasoning why people would give, is because I truly embodied and believed in that mission. And now I'm out doing other things, but I could never make them believe in somebody else's mission. It has to be like with you guys standing up there, and people want to see people succeed, but you have to show them that success. So it's all psychology.
Absolutely, and one thing that I love that you said is the word mission. Especially when you're crowdfunding, money is a foregone conclusion. You're crowdfunding because you need money, that's a given. But you need to talk mission the whole time. You have to say, we're doing this because this is our mission. We're doing this because we care about what our company is doing for the greater good of society. And if you do that mission well, if you can convey that mission well, money is a foregone conclusion, because once you convert the people who hear your mission into believers, that you can actually convert that mission into reality, that's how you get them. And of course, there are nuances. Like you said, your social media has to be out there so you can actually tell people that you exist. Your PR has to be there so that people will want to, I'm sure you help people with what is known as a message map. Is that right? Can you tell us what a message map is?
I should say I don't do that specifically. I think what I do is I advise on a few campaigns now, mostly in the documentary film realm. So again, not tangible products, which I think is kind of a different ballgame, because now you have costs you have to factor into everything. Yes. But it is sitting down and we literally write a plan. I shared one, I think, with you guys of 50 pages of what you're going to be saying every single day, and you should be scripting these tweets and scripting everything out so that every single day you have everything at your fingertips. But again, I would say, especially for both of your companies, look at the Toms. I feel like if I'm buying a pair of shoes, I'm saving the world. And I think they do such a great job of making it so simple that, anybody can feel that, especially with both of your products. And the passion that you both bring to it's incredible. But it's just making it so simple and so obvious to people in your language.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think crowdfunding, the process that you two are about to go into, the skills that you learn while you crowdfund are fully transferable to your future business. You're building social media for the future. You're not just building it for a crowdfunding campaign. The effort you put in now, you're learning the skills that are going to take you to the next level in your business. Because ultimately, the ones who get funded, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ones who get funded are the ones who are fundable. The ones who put in the work to get funded in the first place would be the ones that might even get a bank loan, or they might even get some other sort of financing. Like crowdfunding, I think, is not the end-all be-all. It's the last stage in the process that can help you succeed. I don't know, would you like to say something about that, Jeff?
Well, I think that's mainly true. But I think that the thing that, the string that's going through this, I've been thinking about this quote a lot lately, and I'll tell everyone who's in the Conscious Venture Lab, we're accelerated for conscious entrepreneurship. And everything we do is about meaning and purpose and mission. It's more important than anything. I've been using this quote, Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, he's a Techstars mentor, and Techstars, those guys wrote a book, and the thing, the one quote of the entire book that stands out for me is, your idea is worthless. It means nothing unless you can execute. And execution, more and more, is about purpose and meaning. Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Let me tell you, there's a lot, we've talked about this. There's a lot of shea butter products on the market. There's a lot of coffee out there. You gotta make people care about that. And the being able to find coffee or formulate shea butter, that's just a ticket to the dance. That's gonna get you nowhere if I don't care about you and about what you're doing. So I think that whole, that's everything we do, but that whole string of purpose, make people care about what you're doing, really get into that, that's the most important thing that you can do. There's technical things that you have to do. You have to get 30%, all that sort of stuff. But if people don't care, they just don't care. Right.
That's a very good point. They say that the future is in storytelling. If you could tell a good story in crowdfunding, then you'll be able to really potentially get funded. If you, of course, do the business execution and on the back end too. So right now we have 1 minute left in this segment, unfortunately. Does anyone have any questions for anyone on the panel? We could probably take one or two. Yes, sir? And actually, hold on, let me...
Oh, I get a microphone? All right, that's great. All right, hello, my name is Chaz. Nice to meet everyone. I just want to say one thing, and it was a comment to this panel right here. It's really awesome that we as young people and other people in general, entrepreneurs, I think it's really great that you guys have a mission and that you guys care about other people. That's so incredible. It just makes me so happy that you guys want to help people, because as a young person and as other young people in this room, it's so great that we want to help people. We're the future. These people in this room, we're the future all together. And when we have a mission to help people, it's just great. So I wanted to say that, and I want to say this whole segment was great. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was a very nice compliment. What we see is, I think the millennial generation especially is in a position to really take advantage of crowdfunding. I feel that the current structure in a lot of employment, not for everyone, some people enjoy it, but the millennial generation in particular, I think, is kind of clashing against the traditional structures. So crowdfunding provides the outlet for the young people to say, you know what, maybe my ideas would be better appreciated if I started my own company. I know that people my age care about what I have to say, and I'm going to go out there and live my dream. And that's what we think crowdfunding is all about. So, is anyone else have a last minute question? Technically, yes. One last question.
Hi, my name is Jeff Olympia, and I have a video production company, Bear & Cruise, and I have a question in regards to how you guys decide what dollar amount you're going to raise. So in Kickstarter, if you don't raise, you don't get any of it. Whereas in one of my clients here, he is doing a web series, and we can obviously fund one episode for, let's say, $5,000, but realistically, we like to raise the whole web series, which would be more, but we don't want to set those revenue where we can't obtain it based on our network. How do you guys decide that?
I think I can speak to that a little bit. So, we set out saying that, we were fairly confident we could raise about 50% of our goal, in the first couple weeks. We knew we could do that. And we took that amount and said, we'll double that and we'll work to reach that. It wasn't necessarily, the number that we would have liked to have going out. If we were going to get a loan, we probably would have had a higher amount. But we tried to keep it realistic, and we were fortunate that we raised more than our own goal. But another point to that, there's a similar company that had a successful campaign probably a year before us. They're a similar product in California. They had a very successful campaign, and they launched another campaign maybe 2 weeks after we did. There's nothing to say that you can't do multiple campaigns. If people enjoy your product, they're going to come back for more. And I think it's important to keep your expectations, within reason, and know that you can get there, get your money, do what you can, and then if you have to go for round 2 or 3, then go for it.
Also, so we're a food product, and you have to kind of look at like what rewards you can get, and you need to really look at the rewards and say, okay, $25 is really what most people are going to, like, I think it was, I can't remember the percentage, but it was more than 25% of people backed us based on our $25 reward. So you have to really crunch the numbers and say, you think X amount of people are going to back you for this, how much money is that going to give you? And also know, like, okay, how much would you charge people for one episode, or how much would you charge people for, X? So really look at the numbers, crunch them, and say, we think by having these rewards, we can get to this number. And we ended up almost making 200%. Our goal was $12,000. We made $22,000. So I would sometimes say maybe aim a little lower than what you think you can do, and then that way you know you're going to make it. And that way you can say, we were weekend we made $8,000, and 4 days in we made $8,000, and we use that to say, look at us, we're kicking ass. So you know what to do with that. You can use that in your favor.
Absolutely, and unfortunately we're out of time for the questions at the moment because we have to transition to our next panel, and we do still have our Google Hangout Live. So please give a round of applause for all the panelists in the afternoon. And we will have an opportunity to support all the panelists at the end of the show, but first we're going to do a nice overview of Title III equity crowdfunding. So if the current panelists would please step down and the new panelists please step up. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? You guys are awesome. All right, so everyone, we are going to begin our next panel right away. Garrett, are we good to go? Perfect. So our next panel is a great panel because most people in America do not know that this new form of crowdfunding is even available and even exists. The American public, since 2009, specifically on Kickstarter, since 2009, the success of Kickstarter has raised over $1 billion in pledges. The government took notice of that, and there's a new piece of legislation that is currently being deliberated. In fact, it's already been signed into law. It's currently being finalized within the SEC that will soon allow for an amazing new form of capital, take the crowdfunding model and apply equity or debt financing to it, and soon small businesses everywhere will be able to raise capital through crowdfunding. So I'm very excited to share these insights with you through our expert panelists here, and I will introduce everyone. We have Brian Murphy, former U.S. Senate staffer, and he was intricately involved with the passing of the legislation. He was really involved with all the politicians in the Senate. He was going through all the iterations of the legislation, and he could tell us really how that all came to be. Another excellent panelist we have is William Cunningham, who wrote a book about the Jobs Act in particular, and it tells how small businesses can use the Jobs Act to fund their businesses. His book will actually be a reward at the end of the night as well in our 15-minute call to action. And finally, we have Adam Pressman, the Executive Director of Crowdfund Roundup, which is going to tell us an interesting way that his company is working to mitigate the risk of these Title III equity securities. So I'll hand it over to Jess for our first question, but everyone just give a round of applause to our panelists.
So, Brian, can you give us a little bit of a general overview about the Jobs Act and what you know about it so everyone gets a better understanding about what's going on with it?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a great event. So yeah, back in the late 2000s, there had been a groundswell of support for crowdfunding as a concept. We saw that demonstrated through the donation model and the success we saw on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. etc. And as things often do, people thought, how can we expand this? And specifically into the investment space, into debt and equity crowdfunding. So in 2011, summer to fall, a group came to Washington with the idea of creating a framework that will allow actual investment through crowdfunding. Late 2011 in November, I was involved on a bill called the Democratizing Access to Capital Act in the Senate. Walked that down for an introduction into the Senate. It was the first of several crowdfunding bills that will be introduced. The action in the Senate was a follow-on to overwhelming bipartisan success in the House. The legislation that started in the House passed almost overwhelmingly. In short order, the concept of equity crowdfunding had support from the White House and from the leaders of both major parties in both chambers. So it was really just a matter of time before that momentum resulted in something getting to the president's desk. I think back to how this all began. In a couple weeks after we had filed the bill at the office I was working with, there was a little rally on the Senate, lower Senate Park. It was in the rain, it was cold, but people turned out. People wanted to learn about it, wanted to learn about what crowdfunding could become. And in the Congress, I don't know if most people know this, they probably do, there's constant gridlock. There's only about 5% of bills pass. Very few actually make it to the president's desk, few are signed. So going into that environment, crowdfunding faced a lot of hurdles. It was going to an election year where some folks don't see anything pass because it might give support to the opposition. But crowdfunding was different. It became one of those 5% of bills that passed. Both have chambers through several little ping-ponging that goes back and forth between the chambers. Made it to the president's desk in this time last year, actually. It's basically a two-year birthday, so light a cupcake somewhere for it.
It's funny. You'd think most industries would have a party or celebration, but I feel like most people in this industry are working. Right now, equity crowdfunding has not yet been fully implemented. It is still in the regulatory phase, which involves the Securities and Exchange Commission and the self-regulatory organization, the SRO, which is FINRA, both based here in the DC area. So as rules are finalized going forward, you'll actually be able to receive investments and make investments in a highly regulated environment that is laid out in the hundreds and hundreds of pages of regulations that have thus far been written.
So there's also Title II and Title III provisions. A lot of people don't know what the differences of those. Can you go into a little detail about that?
Title II gets to basically general solicitation, which is something I did not work on. Title III is equity and debt-based crowdfunding.
Great. So just, and this is a good segue because William Michael Cunningham has written a book on it. So essentially, just to make it perfectly clear what's going on too. Title III equity crowdfunding, which is currently being finalized in the Securities and Exchange Commission, it's a government body who is reviewing all the comments made from the public after the public reviewed 585 pages of legislation. The public had an opportunity to answer all the questions that the Securities and Exchange Commission brought out to them, and they submitted over 200 comments, and that period ended on February 3rd. In approximately 4 to 6 months from that date, people are estimating that this will actually be implemented, and the first companies will be using Title III equity crowdfunding, which means they've eliminated the restriction that was held since 1933 that you had to be an accredited investor in order to invest in a private company. An accredited investor is an individual who makes $200,000 a year or is worth $1 million in net worth. They've eliminated that restriction for crowdfunding investments, and that means that only 8.7 million people previously qualified as an accredited investor in America. They are going to lift that so that now 300 million people in America could potentially invest in small businesses and raise capital for these people who've been declined by banks and declined by venture capitalists. That is a powerful piece of legislation. And that's what I want to make abundantly clear. And now we'll head to Michael. I'm sorry, I had a couple drinks tonight, so what am I passing?
I appreciate that. And what an introduction. So Title III is equity crowdfunding. It allows you, as a non-accredited investor, as Manolis indicated. And by the way, Manolis and Jessica, thank you very much. You know, they're putting this on out of their own pocket. Okay, they're doing this out of, that's how much they believe in this concept. So basically what Title III allows you to do is, as a small investor, you can invest in the coffee shop right next door, or in someone who's doing skincare products, right? That's raising $100,000. Now, you know, the maximum is $1 million per year in equity capital that you can raise. In order to raise that money, you have to be something called an emerging growth company. An emerging growth company is a company that has less than $1 billion in revenue. That's basically, as I point out in the book, like 97, 99% of the companies in the country. So everybody qualifies for that. What we're seeking to do, and I was part of kind of the thought leadership group that was looking at this for all of the reasons that Manolis mentioned, because we knew that you guys were getting shut out. We knew that. Even if you had great ideas, great backgrounds, great companies, you simply were not able to get the kind of capital that you should have been able to get. Now, it's Manolis' contention, and it's mine, that what this law is going to do, it's going to open up all kinds of creative. This ketchup company, I mean, you know, fruit ketchup, you know, tomato is a fruit, right? So technically all ketchup is fruit. But this idea of having other peaches, and do you do peaches, plums? See, you see what I'm talking about? Delicious, absolutely. But this idea of giving people like that money to do something that innovative, interesting, creative, it really will set the stage for the next generation of entrepreneurs and the next generation of people in this country in a way that we haven't seen anywhere else before. So, in terms of looking at equity crowdfunding is available in Europe. So you should look at some of the European sites to get a feel for how companies are using equity crowdfunding. Basically, again, what it's going to allow you to do is to sell parts of the company to people online. All of the comments that were made earlier are exactly true. There are no crowdfunding fairies out there that are going to, fund your campaign. It is hard work. It is really hard work, but it's doable, and you can certainly make it fun. What else did you want to go over?
Yes, and in fact, because now you're dealing with crowdfunding over the internet, meaning individual citizens buying either shares of stock as their so-called reward. A contribution in the rewards-based model is contribution in exchange for reward. In the equity model, it's contribution in exchange for a purchase of a share or contribution in exchange for a loan of money. So broker-dealers, meaning as individual citizens invest in these companies online, it's going to be like E-Trade. You invest online and now you have a brokerage account and you own a share of Chubb's LLC, or a share of Sarah's Coffee House, or a share of Shea Radiance. It's going to be an actual brokerage account because that's how the investing public is protected. And one thing that I'd like you to kind of play on is, are there limits on how much individuals can invest in, and is there a limit on how much a company can raise every year?
The limit on how much a company can raise every year is $1 million. Okay, you can do that year after year after year, but in one 12-month period, the maximum that you can raise through equity crowdfunding for a company is $1 million.
And they must be a corporation, is that correct?
That's correct, that's correct. And you have to be registered. There's a list of things that you, don't let that list of the compliance requirements scare you. Most companies that will use equity crowdfunding are going to be one or two people, right? So all of this talk about ownership, dilution, and they're covering, and when you look at the regulation, they're covering the waterfront to try to anticipate problems that are coming down the pipe. But we think it's going to be real small company, a daycare center, a hair salon, a McDonald's. You can crowdfund franchises, by the way. Think about that. Crowdfunding a McDonald's franchise on Minnesota Avenue in Southeast and getting residents in the community to buy one share of stock in that McDonald's. You think people will utilize that McDonald's? Yes, they will, because they will be part owners. Now, in terms of the limits for you as investors, you're limited to basically, $2,000 per year. If you make less than $100,000 annually, and above that limit, you can invest 10% of your annual income in all crowdfunding securities, okay? So let's just stick with the lower limit. $2,000 per year for most people is going to be the limit that you can invest in equity or debt crowdfunded securities on an annual basis, and that's everything. Now, a lot of people will tell you that there are going to be some issues with tracking that, so you invest $10 in a daycare center, and then you invest $20 in a hair care salon. You know, how are you going to track all of that sort of thing? There are a lot of technologies that are being developed now to do exactly that. So to keep these crowdfunding platforms in compliance with the SEC rules. So that's also part of what we're seeing, right? We're seeing new creativity applied to the investing side now that we hadn't seen. So all of those are not going to be an issue. Those are two of the compliance issues.
Absolutely, and just also to clarify too, I believe what you meant, William, is if the cap for an individual who makes under $100,000 a year is indeed $2,000, like on the lowest end, the way the issue in the law currently is, what's to stop someone from going to crowdfunding for puppy businesses funding portal investing $2,000, and then crowdfunding for ketchup businesses funding portal from investing $2,000. There's no database that links among all the portals. There's no government database currently, which is an opportunity for an entrepreneur to solve that problem. That's a business right there. But so currently it's self-certification. You as the investor must self-certify that I have met my $2,000 a year, and that's the only way currently that it's being tracked.
No. Hello Wallet is an online wallet, basically, and they are developing a way. This is what I mean when I say there are new technologies that are being developed to track that. So we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of companies, that probably about 5, I won't say a lot, that are looking at exactly that issue and developing platforms and tools to be able to track crowdfunding equity investments across a wide range of investments that you as an individual make. So to keep the funding platforms in compliance with the SEC law. The other thing I would encourage you guys to do is to go to sec.gov and do a search on the Jobs Act and crowdfunding. Take a look at what they are saying and also add your voice to the conversation. Send them an email, all right? Even though they can't accept your comments formally on the proposed regulation, they still have to look at your comments. So if you're a fruit ketchup company and you think that crowdfunding might work, tell them that. Or if you think it won't work, tell them that too. So it's important to get feedback from a wide range of people, especially those who have real world on the street experience in the capital gap issue that I mentioned. That's what I'm getting.
Absolutely, and before we switch to Adam Pressman, who will tell us about some liquidity concerns and then risk mitigation companies out there, was anything that we said, was everything on point? Because you were in charge with the legislation, you were with the real legislation.
Well, I mean, there are hundreds of pages of regulations, and what's put into bill text and what's passed is not always precisely what comes out in regulations. So when we finally get down the road and have something implemented and live, we'll be able to throw out kind of firm parameters for people. I tell folks, they ask me, who's the first person that I should speak to if I'm looking to do crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding, or debt crowdfunding. Is it a social media consultant? Is it a marketing consultant? Is it a website person?
Talk to your friends and family, see if it's something that you want to do because of all the commitment that goes into it, then talk to a lawyer. This is the type of, these are securities. This is no longer donations, we have no obligations. This is serious stuff. These are federally regulated securities. There are states which have set up crowdfunding enforcement teams. They did it last year and the year before even to proactively get out there and look for any type of problem. So if you don't know this stuff by heart, it's either, in my opinion, it's either pay now or pay later. So hopefully that complexity as we get further and further down the road and as the technology and the legislation and policy matures will become simpler, and we'll see if there's further action on the Hill on this in the future.
Absolutely, that's actually excellent advice. If anyone wants to do something of this nature, if anyone wants to start a business and raise capital, just like any business and just like any campaign, and you mentioned it earlier, whether it's reward or whether it's equity, it's still a lot of work. In fact, you add another layer of complexity by having to deal with the securities, but that's something that you have to have responsibility for, but you add people to your team. So the one thing about the Title III equity crowdfunding rules, because there's a lot of compliance concerns and because there's a lot of attorney concerns, there is a lot of talk of the cost of this. So if you're trying to raise $30,000 through equity, and it might cost you $10,000 just to comply with the law, you're not gonna use this if you're trying to raise $30,000. It's gonna cost you $10,000 to do. So, that's why all the comments came in a little bit negative for the Securities and Exchange Commission, because if this was made for the real small businesses, they wouldn't have made it so damn expensive. They made it really damn expensive to comply with 585 pages. But again, I have optimism because I see a lot of technology companies who are automating a lot of these compliance concerns as well. So in time, just like anything, when plasma TVs first came out, they were like ridiculous amounts. Soon, crowdfunding will be lowered as well. But it's going to take time, and it is going to take a lot of effort. So moving on, Adam, you've been patiently waiting, so thank you so much. And so please tell us your thoughts. With Crowdfund Roundup, I know you have a risk mitigation product, but before you get into that, can you tell us some of the liquidity concerns that if someone invests in this, there is a certain bit of a concern of, will they actually be able to liquidate one day? How is the law currently looking in that regard?
Thank you, Manolis, and I appreciate having my second opportunity to be before you both on TV. My name is Adam Pressman. I'm with Crowdfund Roundup, and I want to just sort of segue into this by saying government's role here has been to anticipate and to legislate, and we in the private sector remediate and accelerate, and it sort of just mixes up with what Manolis just said. We're going to make that compliance cheaper. You've heard in the last few minutes of how crowdfunding came to be, how it can be done, and what it will be. But you haven't heard if people will do it or not. Let's look at accredited investors, because 300 million that you mentioned is just the raw population. We don't know how many of them will keep their money under their mattresses. There are a little bit more than 8 million accredited investors, people the IRS say are trustworthy, sophisticated people who should be investing. And yet, only 750,000 of them are startups. Why? Because the perception out there is that startup investing is risky. In fact, it's about an 85% failure rate in investing. Earlier, the statistic was mentioned, 43% failure on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is doing much better than most venture capitalists. Most guys who are doing it in the millions and tens of millions of dollars have a 20% hit rate. So 85% are going to fail. So why would you do it? Why would you invest in what this business needs, what's going to fulfill the promise of the Jobs Act and bring potentially $3 trillion into investing that hasn't been there before, that will be there for you as you start your new ideas, is airbags. I'm the airbags for crowdfunding guy. We have the crowdfund guarantee. We leverage the power of the crowd and technology to make sure investors can't lose their principal, because if we don't do that, people won't get in the car. Mix my metaphors. Okay, so, sorry. So, what that really means is that we provide a program where you go onto your portal and you command a number of services from these various portals. Most of them are mentorship, some of them are compliance. You'll be able to bring that bill down. We talked about the $10,000 that Manolis mentioned, down by complying with some various tools that are out there that are very affordable. There's the crowdfunding roadmap. It's a complete soup to nuts description of everything you need, including the place to post your test campaign. $100 a year. $100 a year. You can't get a lawyer to look at one letter for $100. Okay, so the costs are dropping. What do you do once you've invested? All right, so it's safe to get in. You don't have to lose your money, but then what? Where do you sell a crowdfunded equity share? There's no market for it, really. There's one emerging, actually there's several emerging secondary markets where you'll be able to resell your shares. But think about the reason that you want to get involved in a crowdfunding campaign. Somebody said earlier, the people that are successful in crowdfunding probably would get a bank loan too, because they've got their stuff together. They used something like the roadmap. They had a thorough business plan. They identified that 50% of their funding was in their pockets before they ever pulled the trigger on the campaign. They did what's called due diligence in this business of capital formation. And if you do that, then you're going to be successful. But would you do that for somebody who doesn't care about your product, service, or cause? Probably not. Why do you want to do a separate set of business plans for a banker whose only concern is getting out with his money with a high rate of return, compared to the people that'll be your fans, hopefully forever? You mentioned the McDonald's franchise. What a great idea. These people will be there for the raise. They'll build the McDonald's. But you think they're not going to shop there? Of course they will. One of the ways to ensure liquidity in this role has been what we've been using in our work at Crowdfund Roundup, because frankly equity crowdfunding hasn't been available to us in terms of selling property, is selling debt. Doing royalty loans. The law on that's very old. And by the way, I challenge everybody here who said any of this is new. None of this is new. I crowdfunded 3 albums back in 1980. None of this is new, okay? This is old. It's called patronage. It's been around for hundreds of years. This is how Mozart got paid. This is all very old stuff. And you have to keep that in mind, because it means there's an old, time-tested solution to all of these problems. If you can loan somebody money and get a promise of the revenue to pay it back, called a royalty loan, then are you just going to be somebody who gets the money up front, or are you going to be valuable afterwards? Aren't you really then just a customer who pays in advance for a service or product? Or aren't you just somebody who's a part of the same group forwarding that cause? Another reason we're in this game, people say, well, if you're in equity or royalty crowdfunding, what does a reward-based campaign have to, what is it, why would I want to guarantee? Well, let's say you really do want to make sure that women have got lots of opportunities to make profit in Africa. Let's say you want to make sure there's a water distiller in every town. So you put together your money, you have $500 to invest, you put it out there, and the company gets their money and then doesn't deliver. What now? If you have your guarantee, you get your money back, you try another company to do it.
So how do you guarantee, because we do have a limited time,
okay.
How do you guarantee that if someone does an equity or debt deal, that they can get their money back?
Okay. First of all, we do have a limited amount of time. There's some information right over there that you can pick up and read more about it. Basically, we leverage the power of the crowd to amortize the cost of a very expensive insurance premium. Everybody knows what insurance premiums are. It's money you pay betting bad things won't happen. The insurance company takes that premium, they invest it in something that they know is going to make X amount of money, so that if the worst thing happens, they can use that investment to pay the claim. If the claim doesn't need to get paid, Adam gets paid. So that's how insurance companies make their money, and they do a very good job at it. It's a very, very old business. We do exactly the same thing. Nothing really new here. What we're doing is we're offering something that hasn't been offered to this price point before. You can rest assured every ocean liner built, oil tanker built, every mine sunk, every oil well drilled, and most movies made are made just this way. But to buy such a bond, such an asset as we're talking about, is $20,000. You're not going to do that, but with our help you can, and so you are able to use the same method, what we do, that anybody in capital formation already uses to hedge their bet.
Interesting. So just to kind of put that in perspective, you're saying that if someone's trying to raise, let's say, $100,000,
yes,
you will provide some level of insurance that within a specified time period, if that company goes under, it is collateralized by an asset that can then be liquidated to get your investment back. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. We're not terribly interested in paying claims. No insurance company is. What we do, though, is we are interested in success. And so in addition to providing that assurance so that people will come in and invest, we've been seeing that routinely goals are doubled by the presence of insurance. Like you just said, there's 8 million people out there investing, 1/10 is investing. Why? If we could get half of that number, wouldn't that, you get twice the raise. So it's a fairly easy thing to do. The money comes back to you and often very quickly, because the other thing we do is we tranche the money. Again, in big time capital formation, this is how it's done. If you need $1 million and you need $100,000 of it in the first year to develop your product, that's what you get. You don't get $1 million on day one, because you'll go out and buy a Ferrari or a Learjet with it, and we don't want you to do that. So we being your crowd, okay? So the money is tranched, so if something fails right away, then the money can be returned out of escrow. So it makes it a much more business-like affair. Now, in order to have a tranching schedule, what does that mean? It means we've got milestones that have to be met. It means somebody had a plan. Somebody filled out a checklist that everybody was able to see and agree upon that says, yeah, I can see how from now to 7 years from now, this company's going to make X amount of money, they're going to do it in this kind of way, and I'm going to be a part of that.
Interesting.
I think, William, you wanted to comment, right?
Yeah, this shows kind of how this product development work is going. So if you look at an article that I wrote in the Washington Post about a year and a half ago, I outlined something called crowdfunding fraud insurance, which is what we have developed, okay? So we have a product that basically will do exactly the same thing, you know, it sounds like you're guaranteeing the business risk long-term. Yeah, we're not going to touch that. Okay.
Yeah, we're unconditional where you use fraud insurance.
That's tough. That is very tough to do.
Flood insurance, everything insurance.
Exactly. So our insurance is just good. We have the checklist of fraud from the Jobs Act, right? We know what fraud, there are two things in crowdfunding: authentication and validation. Authentication is that you are who you say you are. You're not a 16-year-old Russian kid sitting in a basement, right? The other one is that you can do what it is you are claiming that you want to do. So you have experience with skincare products, right? And that's obvious. So people can pick up on that, and we can validate your ability to, we can attach a probability to your ability to do what it is you're raising crowdfunding money to do on the equity side. So we're just going to cover the fraud side. And I love that. You're absolutely right. Flood insurance, you know, auto insurance. So, and this is what you're going to see. You're going to see these types of products being developed to help move this market forward.
Absolutely, and we actually want to leave a little bit of extra time for Q&A, but I just want to make a few more points before we end. So, right now, the law states that you have to hold on to any equity or debt that you invest in as an investor in equity crowdfunding for at least 1 year. You have to hold it for a year before you can sell it. If you want to sell it, right now you have to sell it to either back to the company or someone who's like an immediate family member or something of that nature. So right now your option is sell it back to the company after a year, or hold on to it and earn a dividend from the share that you own, or earn interest from the debt that's being paid back by the startup. Or if Oculus, who you may all know, the virtual reality goggles, was a Kickstarter campaign that asked for $100,000, raised $2 million on Kickstarter. That was 2012. They proved their concept through Kickstarter. Venture capital came in and gave another $75 million to expand their business. And then just last month or a few weeks ago, Facebook just bought the Oculus goggles for $2 billion. So from 2012, they raised $2 million. 2 years later, they're sold for $2 billion. So imagine if the people in Oculus was equity crowdfunding. Instead of just getting a donation for reward, imagine if it was equity was their reward. Suddenly, the $50 they spent could be worth $20,000. So the other option is you get bought out by a larger company because you have the next Oculus on your hands. You have the next startup that's just going to be wildly successful that no venture capital had the foresight to see because they didn't want to take the risk on a crazy idea. And that's why you invest in crowdfunding is one of the reasons, because you can possibly get the next big thing that only accredited investors and wealthy individuals in the past has access to. That's number one. Number two is, like you said, community. If you know a restaurant in your community that's struggling and you know that they have great food, but they just don't have the money to get a renovation loan, they get denied, right? But you know if they can just make a nicer bar, their business will just go through the roof. You as a community can invest in a community bar, a community restaurant. You can, I recommend that if you're going to do equity crowdfunding, instead of going to a casino and dropping $2,000, why don't you freaking help your community for $2,000? Don't waste it on like just something that's not going to help someone. Only invest if you're willing and able to speculate, because it is a speculation. But that's the beauty of it. It's people funding people. It's not VCs, it's not banks, it's people funding people because they believe in the person and they believe that that person can execute on what he wants to say. So I'm sorry, I had to say that because that's the reason why equity crowdfunding is going to succeed, because the story is just as important. The campaign is just as important. And people funding people and people getting interconnected, that's what the millennial generation is all about. It's not about bottom line profits for millennials. It's about social entrepreneurship. It's about doing the right thing and making money. Not making money and doing the wrong thing because the profits would be much better. And I think you want to say something.
Yeah, but also, you know, when the advocates first came to DC, they had stickers that said crowdfund investing equals jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we were going through a terrible recession that we were just coming out of at the time, and you know, we still haven't fully gotten over. And for policymakers and for the larger economy, I think you know, there's a lot of people out there who aren't going to get down to the minutia. But when they understand this results in good jobs for folks, and there's been some great research that's come out recently on this, I think that's something that's going to continue to propel the effort forward. I also say, you know, Title III is almost entirely about the idea of ownership of equity. You know, there's in the debt space, folks are trying to you know, adapt it to their needs, but it's really about you having a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. Now, whether that's the next Facebook that everyone talks about, or it's the coffee shop down the street. You know, it's a chance to connect, and it's a chance to really, you know, punch up your weight, if you will, as an investor, especially because of the level of involvement you get that you want to get maybe in a larger offering.
Absolutely.
It may not be big, but it may be big for you and for the people who work there.
Yeah. And what's the time we have?
It is just now 21:00.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes. So I want to open it up for questions. And yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah.
And actually, hold on. Let me just bring this over.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, on the risk mitigation, what type of premium does the investor pay, or what does he have to give up to have that assurance?
Give up is the way we've been doing it in the past, in terms of they've been deals with us on ROI. And that ROI is reduced to amortize the price of the premium. In a rewards campaign, there'd be a straight premium price, and it ranges, but it's high. I tell people it's a 50% premium, which for an individual investor, say putting up $1 million, the thought that $500,000 would only be what goes to his desired recipient is a scary thing. But when you look at it from the point of view of the crowd, all that goes away. It's the law of large numbers. So this is a premium plan that is expensive, but is mitigated by the fact that the cost is shared out by a large number of people.
So a typical $2,000 investment, let's say we're limited to that, what would be the percent of that would go to the risk premium?
Odds are, for the kind of thing we're envisioning, from when my customers are platforms, you know, if I sold mortgage insurance, where would you see my forms? It'd be at the bank when you take out the loan. So the platforms are telling me that they're probably not going to have a premium price to the investor, simply be a checkoff box there. And then in some way, the sale of the reward would be affected by the cost of the premium. Okay, where they just sell the stock back to the company, which is one of the current ways it's to be done.
Would that be disclosed?
Oh, of course. Everything is in the stock purchase agreement. Everything that can ever happen to that stock is in the stock purchase agreement. So again, all the more reason to talk to a lawyer about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Second question, just on liquidity. You mentioned that right now, investor can only really sell it back to the company, but what if the company's not in a position to buy back the shares? And what's the state of the secondary market developing like we have in traditional markets?
Yes, so just like in the traditional stock market, if a company goes bankrupt, you're going to lose your investment. So you lose your investment. If you don't have an insurance product in one way or another, you're going to lose your investment if the company goes bankrupt. And that's why I say only invest if you're willing, and if you don't need this money to live on, you should invest for the potential return on investment, but also for the social piece. But the liquidity piece, let me address that. We interviewed someone, and you were on the show. We interviewed a gentleman, and there's plenty of people working on this. I believe his website is incubanker.com. They are looking to create a secondary market because they see that the government's not stepping in right now to create that liquidity. But he is looking to create something like sharepost.com. I think there's something called SharePost, which that's a secondary market for private placements, accredited investing. Someone's going to come up with that for unaccredited investing. It's just a matter of time. But but no one's there. So if you are able to do that, get in there.
I think that's essential for the market to work.
Oh, it will. Yeah.
Let me also add that all equity crowdfunding must be done through a crowdfunding portal, and the restriction is that you have to hold on to the stock for a year, unless that crowdfunding portal is located on Native American land. I want to ask you about how that exemption, but something I when I was doing the book. So if you buy stock from a crowdfunding portal that's on a Native American reservation, you can sell that stock immediately back. There are no restrictions on holding it.
Okay, final question. Because of the small dollar amounts, how do you maintain the interest of the investor when 85% of businesses most likely will fail? And you're putting up 2,000 here, 500 here, and you might have a share here, and many companies may not be profitable. And they're looking at that and saying, gee, what did I really do? Was it worth it?
Well, you raise a good point, and some people who view this in the wrong way, in my opinion, say this. They look at it from the issuer perspective, and they say, like, the negative side of it is, I have all these investors, and now I have to work with them. I have to deal with them. I got investors. I'm a small company, and I have to work with all these people. The way that you keep people interested is, if I was raising money on equity, I would view every single one of my shareholders as a partner, because they're individuals who have a network that could help me expand my business. So the way you keep them excited is you literally engage them constantly and make them your biggest supporters. You make your investors your employees, in a sense, to say, hey, do you know someone in this space who might be interested in ketchup? Yeah? Well, here, so send me to that restaurant. That's number one. Number two, and this is just a funny dream that I see, instead of fantasy football, I see fantasy crowdfunding in the future, where people are like saying, oh man, let's work together and do fantasy crowdfunding. And Chubbs LLC, they're going to hit a home run this year. They're going to raise $500,000. Like, you make crowdfunding more popular than Kim Kardashian. That's how you do it. And Reality Crowd TV is going to try to do that. But we actually have to, we're out of time.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think the concept is great, execution is key.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. All right, everyone. Well, please thank everyone on the panel. This was very informative. Thank you all.
We're actually going to play a quick video for you guys about just a little bit more about what we're doing, and then we're going to just go around. We only have about like 15 minutes, so we're going to play it right now.
Yeah, and what we're going to do, for those of you on the Google Hangout, we're going to try to, we're going to keep you live. We don't want to disconnect just yet. And I'm going to share my screen so that people in the Hangout will see the video as everyone sees it up here too. So we're just going to have to disconnect from this station. So everyone in the Hangout, bear with us if it looks kind of funny for a moment.
Reality Crowd TV show out though.
I like that the best. Thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Manolis Finorilakis, the founder and producer of Reality Crowd TV. With so many project creators looking for that secret sauce to crowdfunding success, we're here to make that happen. Currently, the success rates are only a dismal 43%. There's something inherently wrong with that. We aim to bring that much closer to 100%. And we believe we can make that happen. I'm about to introduce you to members of our team who will really show you the passion and creativity that we have to help everyone live their dreams. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Jessica Sun, the CEO of Reality Crowd TV. What we are doing here today is crucial to crowdfunding and the future success of it. As Manolis stated, only 43% of projects get funded on Kickstarter. To me, that number is unreasonable. Most projects fail simply due to them not knowing the steps to take in order to succeed. Reality Crowd TV is here to change all that. Our goal of $36,000 will not only help film the first few episodes of RCTV, but will help others get funded by highlighting their projects, educating them, and showing the world exactly what it takes in order to crowdfund. You can dream it. You gotta believe it. Achieving your goals, it's important, so start it today.
I'm Scott C. Brown, writer and producer on RCTV, and the founder and publisher of Maxit Magazine, the voice of indie. Be it a film or publishing project I'm working on, funding is the key to moving it forward. Putting the right people into place and understanding the necessary steps is crucial to the success of any venture. Now, crowdfunding is a great tool on that journey, but RCTV is the map on that path. As stars and big budget companies compete for the available funds, RCTV is working to level the playing field and get everyone the funds they need.
Hi, I'm Mark Allen Kay, director, editor, and visual effects artist for RCTV. RCTV got my attention when I realized how few funding campaigns actually succeed. So when Manlis and Jessica asked me to be part of RCTV, I couldn't say no. The chance to educate entrepreneurs, inventors, filmmakers, and others in the crowdfunding process and having them compete with each other to show that they have what it takes to launch their campaign with the best possible chance of success truly inspires me. You'll be there through their victories and their failures, both personal and professional, giving you a better understanding of what it truly takes to become successfully funded.
Now, wouldn't you like to know what Reality Crowd TV is all about? What makes us unique? We take hopeful and potential crowdfunders through a series of tests, challenges, and obstacles that would better prepare them to succeed in living their dreams. What's also unique is that this takes place in a university setting, where education is paramount. Now, when they graduate, you guessed it, they're launching their live crowdfunding campaign on air so that they can get the most bang for their buck. You will not want to miss the action that's about to unfold. With that said, we thank you for choosing Reality Crowd TV as your project of choice to back. By helping us with this endeavor, you not only push our progress forward, but you help hundreds of other projects in the future get funded as well. Please contribute, share our mission throughout social media, and make sure that this project goes viral. Dream it, believe it, achieve it! So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Did you have something to say? Oh, thank you. So tonight, that video is a first draft of our of what will be ultimately our Kickstarter video. We put that on there tonight just to show you what we're planning. But what's special about tonight, and this is really the first time I believe that this has been done, we are doing a live crowdfund campaign. That page for GoFundMe.com is a live crowdfunding campaign right now. And the rewards we're offering are the featured entrepreneurs on the show and panelists who are on our show tonight, this mock show panel discussion. Each individual has offered to give $15 of value. We've marked it up for a very small fee so that we can also engage in our own crowdfunding campaign. But let's say the reward is $21, as is the case in Shea Radiance. And so you will get a $15 coupon to SheaRadiance.com, their website. And it's redeemable for $15 worth of value. The $21, we're getting $15 back to Funlao. She's benefiting more than we are in this case. Ween from Sarah's Coffee House, they've offered $15. If you donate the $22, they get $15 of the $22. You're helping them move forward. They have a great business plan. You're helping them move forward. If you donate $23, I believe the next reward is Chubbs. You could actually get some $15 worth of delicious ketchup, and they get $15 back. The final reward is Michael Cunningham. You could actually get a copy of his book, which is a $15 value. It's actually a $20 value. He's offering it for $15, and he's getting $15. And if you actually want to help everyone out, which means it's all the people who are offering the rewards. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, there's one more. Natalie from Culture Baby. Because of the snow on March 3rd, we had to reschedule our event, and she was originally one of the featured entrepreneurs, but tonight she just launched her brand in a very special location, so she couldn't make it tonight. But as a thank you, she also is putting $15 worth of her company, which is culturebaby.com, a clothing company for young children, and they have a social mission as well. If you decide you want to have everybody win, for $125 you can get all the rewards, plus Jessica and I will do an hour consultation with you on any topic you choose, whether it's you have your own crowdfunding campaign you want to do, whether it's you want to be connected to an attorney in equity crowdfunding.
Or a business plan, or any idea that you have, you just need some consulting on. We could try to help you with the experience we got from doing this for the past year, 6 months.
Yeah. Jess, like, how many stages have we identified in the crowdfunding process?
There's 9 stages of crowdfunding that Manolis and I actually put together, and we're actually putting a class together online that we're going to eventually offer as a reward for our Kickstarter, but we're not disclosing any of that yet, but that could be disclosed kind of.
Yeah. But there are 9 stages to a crowdfunding campaign, and when I met with Ween and James, we discussed that. So these are the things that if you want everyone to win, it's basically all 5 rewards, which means $25 times 5, $125, plus we'll consult you on any topic you choose. And whenever we talk to people, we usually go for over an hour. We just say an hour, but if you want to talk longer, this is my life, so I enjoy talking about it. Question?
No, I actually would like to offer to match every hour you get. I will have one of my CR advisors. We've got CR advisors around the nation who can do the same thing. We'll work to your plan. We just have more people, and they're probably closer to where your customers will be.
Wonderful. So now so if everybody wins at $125, you get 2 hours of consultation from us and then from Adam Pressman and his group at Crowdfund Roundup. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We are going to set up laptops at each of these individual stations, and we hope that you'll decide to help our entrepreneurs out, help our panelists out, and I really hope you choose everybody winning tonight. So thank you all. Have a great night. Thank you.